We've made a lot of progress converting our bus during the COVID-19 pandemic. Feels solid.
Super solid.
Solid.
But before we jumped into the interior build, we reached out to our bus and van life friends for some advice.
Made a huge difference in terms of keeping the smells down and keeping the ambience good inside the Kombi.
I like to go from back to front. I like to start with my interior walls.
In hindsight, not a good move. We live full-time in our bus. We travel full-time.
Finishing the shell of the bus, we were a little burnt out and needed a getaway to recharge.
Good friends have this cabin here. We're lucky enough to come stay with them. Look at the view from the balcony. So we took the opportunity to reach out to some bus and van life YouTubers to see what kind of advice we could get, so we prepared to work on the interior build.
Hey Mella, hey Don, how you doing? You asked me a couple of really interesting questions, so I thought I would respond from the Kombi.
This is Ben. He's been traveling in his Kombi for over 10 years. In his first Kombi, he traveled from Chile in South America all the way to Alaska and had plenty of adventure and breakdowns along the way.
Literally, you couldn't write this stuff.
With experience comes knowledge, and so with Ben's second Kombi, he made some major upgrades for his plan to drive around the world in his Volkswagen van.
First of all, you're asking about the upgrades we made to our interior and which ones have been like really made the most difference. Because previously we lived in a van that didn't have much in the way of interior, and we did a lot to this one. If I had to pick three things that were really very impactful, one is our electrical system, because now we don't ever have to worry because we went to lithium batteries and we can work off-grid and power our lives completely. Two is our water system. We separated our drinking water to our kind of normal everyday shower water and everything, because drinking water is a little bit more difficult to find. So we have two separate tanks, so that enabled us to manage our water a lot better. We also have a UV water system to filter the drinking water, so it's super clean. That's really nice. And number three, I think I'd have to say the ventilation. Having the max fan on the roof made a huge difference in terms of keeping the smells down and keeping the ambience good inside the Kombi. Very, very comfortable in here. Can I also add my shower and my heater? That's too many things, there's 5 things. Oh, so many things, guys.
This is Justin from Gilligan Phantom. Justin converted a 40-foot skoolie, and he and his family live and travel in their bus full-time.
His channel's been a source of inspiration and a great resource for our build ideas.
Hey guys, this is Justin from Gilligan Phantom. Thank you so much for having me in your video. Right now I am sitting in bus build number 2. This is actually our new bus that we're working on. You can look at the current progress on Instagram at Gilligan Phantom. It's not for us though. I don't want you to get upset and think that our bus is something that we're not happy with or moving on from. We are totally delighted about our bus Gilligan Phantom. We still live in it, and it's right there. So I'm gonna answer 2 questions for you that Mella and Don posed to me as they move to the interior of their build. And the first one is, do you have a particular order that you like to build the interior in? And yes, I do. I like to go from back to front. I like to start with my interior walls and then start to build built-ins and furniture from back to front. Now the way I build a bus is I treat it like it's kind of a giant cabinet. Everything is tied together. I do not frame out when it's not necessary because I don't want to lose any of that interior space to the thickness of a 2x4. Instead I use plywood and pocket screws, and what that means is that everything has to be sort of tied together. And then I usually have some sort of supporting platforms to tie one piece of plywood into the next. Essentially, I'm building the inside of a big cabinet or maybe a sailboat. I'm gonna be putting in 6 walls as we move towards the front of the bus. Of course, you'll have to subscribe to my channel to see this all unfold in front of your eyes.
If you've been watching our channel a while, you've heard us talk about our friends Yvan and Sylvie a few times. They've converted not 1, not 2, but 3 buses.
Well and done. Thanks for having me on your channel, and great initiative you're taking here to help other people building buses.
We met up with them about a year ago and they gave us a tour of their GMC bus. And we got a chance to see their 3rd bus before they started converting it, an MCI, just like ours.
First 2 buses had a different design layout in terms of where the bathroom was. The first one was a center aisle bus, so a galley kitchen on one side, bathroom opposite the kitchen. We had a really big living room in that bus, and the reason we had a really big living room is, like a lot of people building their first buses, we have to have a place for people to sleep, because we have 5 grandchildren. In hindsight, not a good move. We live full-time in our bus. We travel full-time. We rarely have the grandchildren with us. So the second bus we built sleeps 2 comfortably, and the dinette comes down to make a bed for another person. The second bus, we went with a side aisle design. Side aisle afforded us a little better bathroom space. The third bus, and the one we're building right now, the big difference we did there is we have a no aisle design. So we have a galley kitchen incorporating the dinette on both sides, and then the bathroom is its own corridor. So we don't have a dedicated aisle per se. We're not wasting space, which gives us the appearance of having a really big bathroom. It's actually taking up less space in our bus than the side aisle design. The other thing that we've done is increase our solar capacity. The more solar capacity you have, the easier it is to live off-grid. So our first bus, we had 400 watts of solar. This bus, we have 1,300 watts of solar. And the new bus, 4,100 watts of solar. The more solar you have, the more batteries you have, the easier it is to boondock. And we boondock a lot. Now that first bus, we didn't build the boondock. At that point, we were weekenders. But now we boondock full-time. And boondocking full-time means trying to be discreet, trying to be quiet. And we don't like the sound of a generator. The more solar we have, the better it is for us. Now, the interior walls, the separations in a bus have no structural need or no structural value whatsoever. They just need to hold themselves up. The other thing that we do differently than a lot of people building buses is we put the wiring in last. All our furniture is in place, all our cabinets are in place, then we wire the bus. We don't have any wires in the walls, we don't have any wires in the ceiling. And the reason for that is quite simple. We've taken apart 3 buses. We noticed in all 3 buses was wires run through the walls eventually will chafe. Eventually, because of the vibration in a bus, will rub against something. That can cause a lot of issues. We've seen burn wires in walls. We've seen wires that have been cut, screws to them, like I mentioned. We put our wiring through the different cabinets, through toe kicks, and through dedicated wire chases.
It was amazing to get this advice while we were back at the cabin on our vacation, enjoying a week of walks in the snow, some good food, and we even started recording some new songs.
Hold on to what is mine, don't let it pass us by. We'll build a house with these hands. We'll build a house with these hands. We'll put it on wheels 'cause who needs land? We'll build a house with these hands.
Before we knew it, we were heading home, only to arrive to the worst snowstorm of the year.
Which gave us some time to prepare for the next part of the project. We came back to work on the bus, but
It is cold.
we're super eager to get started on this next phase, working on the interior build of our bus, but it's also a little daunting.
We've got one project. We think we know what we're doing, so we're gonna head to the hardware store.
The snow is so bright with the sunshine. So today we are returning things we don't need, extra flooring and trim that we bought, but stocking up on supplies for the next project. Been here for hours now. But it's all good, we're finding lots of good stuff. It's getting late, guys, so we're gonna wrap this up here and we'll be back tomorrow. Gotta make sure my wedding ring shows through my work gloves, right? We picked up a bunch of supplies at the hardware store for the next project we're gonna work on and for future projects that are coming up with the interior build. Because there's just so many things, there's so many parts and things to think about, and it kind of gets a little overwhelming. You're like, oh, have I thought of everything? So we asked our friends for a little advice to make sure we are thinking of everything we need to do in this build.
Do I have any specific advice about people that are converting tiny homes on wheels or vans or whatever? Yes, lots of it. I think it's really important to maintain your environment, and heat goes out your windows astonishingly quickly, so it's really worth having a decent kind of magnetic, if possible, or push button, easy to use insulation for your windows if you're traveling in the hot or the cold. That's something to keep in mind. That's a really important thing to do. And also ventilation and airflow through your cupboards, putting little vents so the air can actually get through the doors, or even better, putting like Venetian style kind of blinds on the front of the, what they're called, slats on the front of the cupboards to let the air flow. It's definitely a good idea because vans get moist and moisture invites mold, and we don't like mold, do we, guys?
Our original thought for our window coverings was that we would make some roll-up blinds with curtain material that we already have. And then we took Ben's advice.
Now, since we went ahead and installed RV double pane windows, they're pretty well insulated, and with cold we've had, you can tell they're gonna work pretty well. But what they don't block out is a whole lot of that radiant heat, that sun's UV heat that would really cook the bus. So as far as something that's simple and easy for us to do on a daily basis to block out the heat and also give us a little more privacy, we got some samples of blinds that we're looking into for just some blackout pull down blinds. Seems like it's a easy solution.
They have this like silver insulation in the center, so that helps to make them completely blackout. And I'm sure they have some insulating properties. I'm not sure it's as good as Reflectix, but definitely will be convenient to just pull a blind down.
Now, we did build a custom cabinet for our TV lift, and that's going to be really cool. Very custom cabinet for the specific purposes. For the rest of the cabinets, we were all gung-ho to build them ourselves, and that was until we talked to our friend Yvan.
Why IKEA cabinets? Very simple. I'm actually a cabinet maker by trade. Built cabinets for many years, and the price that IKEA puts their cabinets out for is exceptionally low when you consider the hardware. I couldn't buy the hardware, let alone build the cabinets, at the same price that IKEA sells me complete cabinets with the hardware. The other thing is, a bus is a rolling earthquake, and their cabinets are actually very well built. The other consideration is, if we ever sell the bus, and we never build with the intention of selling, but hey, we sold 2 already. So the whole point of it is, if someone doesn't like our cabinet faces, they can go to IKEA and buy the cabinet face they like. Also, if we happen to keep the bus a lot longer, well, if we get tired of the cabinet faces, we can change them as well.
We're filming.
Something we always gotta make sure is that camera is rolling and we're getting the shots we need. which is something we're also thinking ahead about, is how to film in this bus as we start to travel.
You do an amazing job filming whilst travelling. Can you please share with us how you film the inside of the Kombi whilst you're driving? We have a variety of cameras. I think the one you're talking about though is our 360 camera, which sits on our dashboard and allows us to go basically hands-free and see in any direction around the Kombi. It's really useful for creating engaging content. It is a pain in the butt to edit with. It's called the Insta360 1X, I believe. Yeah, it's a pain to edit with. I'll warn you of that now.
So we'll have a vertical wall here, and then a vertical wall that's into this back here. So we're just talking about the closet plans. We're gonna have to pull these things out, this piece and this piece here. And the reason being is because we're gonna replace them with nice thick plywood.
Oh well. Put the walls in, take the walls out. But I guess we just realized how to make the shelving work in the back.
Yeah, and it wasn't until now that we realized we needed to go back and redo that in order to make the closet work.
When building a bus, there's two things you really need: patience and flexibility. It's going to take you a lot longer than you thought. And Don and Mella, well, you experienced that already. The other thing is flexibility. The bus will impose onto you design ideas and design constraints that when you're doing your Pinterest thing and looking over Instagram and drooling over all the buses, that you think, oh, we want to do that, we want to do that, we want to do that. Great. But when you actually start building the bus, then you realize that, oh wait, there's a beam there, or ooh, I can't put the toilet there because of this, and I can't put the sink there because of this, and this window should have moved here, and all sorts of things. So you need to be flexible. The other thing is you need to be flexible with your budget. Everybody goes in thinking, yeah, we're gonna do this for cheap. For some buses, that works out. For other people, it doesn't. Depends what you're wanting to do with the bus. Is the bus for you a weekend getaway thing? Then yeah, you can go cheap all the way. Not a problem. Is it your home full time? If that's the case, you need to consider things like comfort, security, and adaptability. You know, our lives change regularly.
You probably, just like me, do not have the ability to make things look perfect. So do the best that you absolutely can, but you've got to accept your shortcomings and you've got to accept the mistakes that you make. Sometimes it's a critical mistake and you need to redo it or rebuild it. And sometimes it's sort of about letting go, accepting the way that it looks, knowing that once your bus is all done and it's full of your stuff, it's going to be a really beautiful, compelling home for you. So set a high standard for yourself, but if you can't reach that standard and you can live with the way it turned out, that's totally okay. And it is what allows me to actually get through these builds and not get stuck forever and not finish. And the second piece of advice I have for you as you build out the interior is do not make your concepts too complicated. If you want a couch that is a flip out bed that also turns into a table, that also morphs into a beautiful, wonderful movie theater or something, you should just know that the more complicated you make that, the longer it's going to take you. And it's okay for your furnishings, your structures, to not be totally optimized in every single way, especially if you have a large bus like this one, Gilligan Phantom, and Mella and Don's. You have space to make things function really well for one or two purposes. It doesn't have to be 3 or 4. Keep your concept simple.
So now that we've made a few more decisions on some future projects, we're gonna head back to the hardware store to stack off on those things that we decided on, and we can get started working on the first project of the interior build.
Thank you, Mella and Don, for having me on your channel. Good luck building, and we'll see you out there.
Thanks. If you have anything else you need, just let me know. Be happy to do it, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, best luck.
And we'll include links to Ben and Justin and Yvan's YouTube channels below if you want to follow along, because we've learned so much from watching their videos.
And thanks so much, Ben, Yvan, and Justin, for collaborating with us for today's video. So what's in the back? It is a closet and an office space. But we'll share that with you next time.